Demetrio Valente doesn't open his own door. Not at midnight, not ever. But the security camera shows something that makes him override protocol. A teenage boy standing under his portico light, gripping a little girl's hand. The boy is terrified, and he's looking directly into the camera like he knows exactly whose house this is. Valente crosses his foyer in 4 strides, waving off Silvio's protest. When he pulls open the heavy door himself, the kid flinches but doesn't run. "Sir," the word comes out strangled. "I know what you are. Everyone knows." The little girl behind him is shaking so hard the blanket in her arms trembles. She can't be older than 8. Her eyes are fixed on the ground like she's learned not to look at men's faces. Valente's expression doesn't change. "Then you know I don't take walk-ins. I'm not asking for myself." The kid's voice breaks. "But there's a man. Victor. He's coming for us tonight, and I can't—" He stops, swallows hard. "I ran out of places to go. I thought maybe if she was behind your door he wouldn't—" The girl makes a sound, small and animal, and presses her face into her brother's side. "Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you." Now, let's jump right back in. Valente has built an empire on reading desperation, on knowing when someone is lying, when they're wired, when they're bait. This kid is none of those things. This kid has simply run out of options and chosen the devil he doesn't know over the one he does. "One night," the boy whispers. "That's all I'm asking. Just one night where she can sleep and not hear footsteps. I'll stay on your porch. I'll leave at sunrise. I just need—" His voice cracks completely. "I just need to know she's safe for a few hours." Behind Valente, Cosimo has appeared, taking in the scene with the quiet assessment of a man who's seen every variation of human desperation. Silvio is already on his phone, pulling up information on someone named Victor. Valente looks at the girl, at the way she's folded into herself, at the purple shadow blooming along her jaw that she thinks her hair is hiding. He's built his life on rules, on boundaries, on never bringing problems through his front door. But the code, the old code, the one his grandfather beat into him, says something very specific about children. "Come inside." His voice is granite. "Both of you." The boy's legs nearly buckle. "Sir, I—" "The debt will be noted," Valente says, stepping aside. "Move quickly, before I change my mind." The girl looks up for the first time, her dark eyes huge and wet, and Valente sees in them exactly what he suspected. This isn't about one night. This is about survival. The boy, standing in his doorway, with nothing but hope and exhaustion, has just handed him a choice. Valente has never been good at walking away from choices. The moment they cross the threshold, the silence hits them like a physical thing. It's not the absence of sound, but the presence of something heavier, something that lives in the spaces between breaths. The foyer stretches before them, all polished marble and dim lighting from crystal fixtures that probably cost more than most people earn in a year. Their footsteps echo, the girl's pink sneakers squeaking against stone that has never known dirt. The boy, Elias, Valente will learn his name is Elias, stops just inside and pulls his sister closer. His eyes track every shadow, every doorway, every corner where a threat might hide. He's mapping exits before he's even taken 5 steps inside. Valente recognizes the behavior. He's seen it in soldiers, in survivors, in people who've learned that safety is always temporary. "Cosimo." Valente's voice is quiet, but it carries. "The East Parlor. Make it ready." Cosimo nods once and disappears down a hallway to the left. He moves with the efficiency of a man who understands orders that aren't fully spoken. Silvio remains near the entrance, his phone still pressed to his ear, his expression growing darker with whatever information he's receiving. "This way," Valente says, and starts walking without checking if they follow. He knows they will. They have nowhere else to go. The east parlor is one of the smaller receiving rooms, which means it's only twice the size of a normal living room. Cosimo has already turned on the lamps, their warm glow softening the formal furniture and the paintings that line the walls. There's a long sofa upholstered in cream silk, matching chairs arranged in a conversational cluster, and a low table made of dark wood that gleams like still water. Elias stops in the doorway. Lucia, the girl's name will turn out to be Lucia, presses against his side. "Sit," Valente says, gesturing to the sofa. Elias doesn't move toward it. Instead, he guides Lucia to the carpet beside the sofa and sinks down with her, his back against the wall where he can see both doors. The blanket she's been clutching gets spread across her lap, and she burrows into her brother's shoulder like she's trying to disappear into him. Valente watches this, his face unreadable. The furniture is for sitting. "We're fine here," Elias says. His voice is steadier now that they're inside, now that there are walls between them and the street. "We won't mess anything up." It's the response of someone who's been punished for existing in nice spaces. Valente has seen this too, the way poverty teaches people to make themselves smaller, to take up less room, to apologize for breathing. He doesn't argue. Instead, he crosses to one of the chairs and sits, his slate gray three-piece suit somehow unwrinkling itself as he settles. He steeples his fingers and studies the two of them. The boy is wound so tight he might shatter. The girl hasn't looked up since they entered. Cosimo returns carrying a silver tray that seems too elegant for the moment. On it are 2 glasses of milk, still steaming slightly, and a plate of sfogliatelle, the shell-shaped pastries golden and flaking with sugar. He sets it on the low table and steps back. "Eat," Valente says. It's not a suggestion. Elias stares at the tray like it might explode. The fine china, the real silver, the pastries that look like they came from a bakery that doesn't have prices on the menu. It's absurd. It's grotesque. They came here running from a man who wants to hurt them, and they're being offered milk and crystal and dessert that costs more than their last 3 meals combined. Lucia's stomach growls, loud in the quiet room. She flinches at the sound, her hands tightening on the blanket. "It's all right," Elias whispers to her. He reaches for one of the glasses, tests its weight, and hands it to her. She takes it with both hands, careful not to spill a drop on the carpet that probably costs more than a car. Valente watches as she drinks, as Elias takes the other glass for himself, but doesn't drink from it. The boy's eyes never stop moving. He's counting the locks on the doors. Valente can see him doing it. 2 deadbolts on each, both engaged. The windows are covered with heavy drapes. There are no obvious exits except the way they came in. "You can sleep," Valente says. "No one will come through those doors." "I'm not tired," Elias lies. The exhaustion is written in every line of his body, in the shadowed circles under his eyes, in the way his shoulders curve inward like he's been carrying weight too long. Lucia has finished her milk. She sets the glass down carefully on the tray and leans against her brother, her eyes already drooping. The warmth, the food, the silence that isn't filled with shouting or threats, it's pulling her under. Cosimo produces a throw blanket from somewhere, thick and soft, and drapes it over her without a word. She's asleep within minutes, her breathing evening out into something peaceful. Elias doesn't sleep. He sits with his back to the wall, one hand resting on his sister's shoulder, and watches the locked doors like they might burst open at any second. Valente sits in his chair and watches the boy watch the doors, and the silence that fills the room is heavier than anything either of them could say. The first hour passes like that. Valente doesn't move except to check his watch, the gold Rolex catching the lamplight at 1:30 a.m. Elias doesn't move at all. His hand stays on Lucia's shoulder, his eyes stay on the doors, and his body stays coiled like a spring wound too tight. Every small sound makes his head snap toward it. The settling of the house, the distant hum of the heating system, the barely audible footsteps of Cosimo moving through distant hallways. Each one registers as a potential threat. Valente has interrogated men for less suspicious behavior. But this isn't suspicion. This is survival instinct, carved so deep, it's become reflex. At 2:15 a.m., Cosimo appears briefly in the doorway with a pot of espresso and two small cups on a tray. He sets it on the table without speaking and withdraws like smoke. Valente pours himself a cup, the bitter scent filling the room. He gestures to the second cup, but Elias shakes his head. He won't take his hand off his sister. He won't accept anything that might dull his awareness for even a moment. "You can't watch forever," Valente says quietly. It's the first words either of them has spoken in over an hour. "I can watch long enough." Elias's voice is rough with exhaustion, but absolute in its conviction. "Long enough for what?" "For morning. Then we'll go." Valente sips his espresso. "And go where?" Elias doesn't answer. They both know he doesn't have an answer. Another hour crawls by. Lucia sleeps deeply. The kind of sleep that only comes when a body has been running on fear for too long, and finally feels safe enough to shut down. Her small chest rises and falls in steady rhythm. Her face, relaxed in sleep, shows just how young she really is. 7, maybe 8 years old. Old enough to understand danger, but too young to protect herself from it. Elias's eyes are starting to drift. He catches himself, jerks his head up, forces them open wider. But his body is betraying him. The warmth of the room, the softness of his sister's breathing, the absence of immediate threat, it's all conspiring to drag him under. At 3:45 a.m., Valente stands. The movement makes Elias snap to full attention, his free hand coming up defensively. "Easy," Valente says. He crosses to the door and opens it. Silvio is standing just outside, exactly where Valente knew he would be. The enforcer has been there for the last 2 hours, a silent wall between the room and anything that might want to enter it. Silvio steps inside when Valente gestures. He's a big man, not tall but built like something designed to absorb damage and keep moving. His dark hair is cut military short, and his face has the weathered look of someone who's taken too many hits to count. He wears dark trousers and a fitted black shirt that doesn't hide the bulk of his shoulders. There's a faint scar cutting through his left eyebrow that makes his already hard expression even more intimidating. Elias watches him enter with the wariness of a cornered animal. His body shifts, angling to better shield Lucia, even though she's asleep. "Silvio will take over," Valente says. "You need to sleep." "I'm fine." It's automatic. The lie so practiced it comes out smooth, despite being obviously false. Valente's expression doesn't change. "It wasn't a suggestion. I don't need anyone to watch for me." Elias's jaw sets stubbornly. "I've been doing this for months. I can do one more night." Silvio moves then, crossing the room with surprising quiet for someone his size. He doesn't approach Elias directly. Instead, he positions himself between the doors and the sofa, his back to them, his stance wide and grounded. He doesn't look at Elias. He looks at the doors. "You sleep, ragazzo," Silvio says. His voice is low and gravelly, scraped raw by cigarettes, and years of not raising it unless absolutely necessary. I guard the line. "I don't know you." Elias's voice wavers slightly. "I don't know if I can—" "You can't," Silvio says flatly. "You don't trust me. You don't trust anyone. Smart kid." He shifts his weight slightly, settling deeper into his stance. "But you're going to fall over in the next 20 minutes. When you do, you won't wake up if something happens. So either sleep now when someone's watching, or sleep later when no one is." It's brutal logic delivered without sympathy, and somehow that makes it more trustworthy than kindness would be. Kindness can be manipulation. This is just fact. Elias's eyes burn with the effort of staying open. His hand is still on Lucia's shoulder, but his grip has loosened. His body is winning the war his mind is fighting. "The doors stay locked," he says finally. It's barely a whisper. The doors stay locked, Silvio confirms. Nothing comes through them that I don't clear first. If anything happens, you'll know before it gets close. Valente watches this exchange from his position near the wall. He says nothing. This isn't his moment. This is Silvio's language, the unspoken code between people who understand what it means to hold a line. Elias's eyes close. He fights it, forces them open one more time, but his body has made the decision his mind can't. He slumps against the sofa, his hands sliding from Lucia's shoulder to rest on the carpet beside her. Within seconds, his breathing deepens and evens out. He's still sitting up, still partially ready to move, but he's asleep. Silvio doesn't turn around. He stands facing the doors, his arms crossed, his presence filling the room like a physical barrier. The lamplight casts his shadow long across the carpet, stretching toward the two sleeping children like a shield made of darkness. Valente pours himself another espresso and settles back into his chair. He has calls to make, information to gather, decisions to finalize. But for now, he watches Silvio watch the doors, and he thinks about the boy who ran out of options and chose a monster's house over whatever was chasing him. Sometimes sanctuary comes from unexpected places. Sometimes it comes from dangerous ones. Sometimes those are the same thing. Elias wakes to sunlight. Not the harsh, unfiltered glare of morning through bare windows, but something softer, diffused through heavy fabric that turns it golden and gentle. For 3 full seconds, he doesn't remember where he is. His body registers warmth, stillness, the absence of cold concrete or thin blankets that never keep the chill out. Then memory crashes back and he jerks upright, his hand reaching instinctively for Lucia. She's still beside him on the carpet, curled under the thick throw blanket, breathing deeply, safe, unhurt. The panic that spiked through his chest settles slightly, though it doesn't leave. It never really leaves. The parlor looks different in daylight. Less intimidating, maybe, but more obviously expensive. The paintings on the walls are originals, he realizes now. The kind museums keep behind velvet ropes. The cream sofa he refused to sit on probably costs more than every piece of furniture he's ever owned combined. And the carpet they slept on, the one he was so worried about staining last night, is hand-woven silk that feels like water under his palms. Silvio is gone. The doors are still locked. The room is quiet. Elias gets to his feet carefully, his body stiff from sleeping on the floor. His neck aches, his shoulders are tight, and his mouth tastes like exhaustion and fear. He moves to the nearest window and eases the drape aside just enough to see out. The view shows a walled garden, manicured and precise, with stone pathways winding between shaped hedges and flower beds that probably bloom in careful rotation throughout the year. Morning light slants across it all, peaceful and impossibly removed from the streets he was running through 12 hours ago. It doesn't feel real. None of this feels real. The door opens behind him and he spins, his body going tense, positioning himself between it and Lucia. The woman who enters isn't what he expected. She's older, maybe early 60s, with silver-threaded dark hair pulled back in a simple twist. She wears a long linen dress in deep navy, comfortable and elegant in equal measure, and moves with the easy confidence of someone who belongs exactly where she is. Her face is kind, lined with the sort of wrinkles that come from smiling more than frowning, and her dark eyes take him in with the assessing warmth of someone who's raised children and knows exhaustion when she sees it. "Buongiorno," she says softly, mindful of Lucia still sleeping. "I'm Carmela, Demetrio's sister." She carries a small tray with a single espresso cup and what looks like fresh bread. "You must be Elias." He nods, not trusting his voice yet. His throat is dry and his mind is still catching up to being awake. "Come," Carmela says, setting the tray on the low table. "Sit, eat something." "I should—" He glances back at Lucia. "I should stay close to her." Of course. Carmela's smile is understanding. But she's safe here. You both are. My brother may be many things, but he keeps his word. If he said you could stay the night, then no harm will come to you under this roof. Elias doesn't sit. He takes the espresso cup because refusing feels dangerous, but he holds it without drinking. The warmth seeps into his cold fingers. Carmela watches him for a moment, then crosses to where Lucia is beginning to stir. The little girl's eyes open slowly, then go wide when she sees the unfamiliar woman crouching beside her. She scrambles backward until her spine hits the sofa. Shh, Piccola, Carmela murmurs. It's all right. You're safe here. My name is Carmela. What's yours? Lucia looks to Elias, desperate for guidance. He nods slightly, and she whispers, Lucia. Lucia. Carmela repeats it like she's tasting something precious. What a beautiful name. Are you hungry, Lucia? The girl doesn't answer, but her stomach does, growling audibly in the quiet room. Carmela laughs, gentle and warm. I thought so. Come with me to the kitchen. I have fresh pastries, fruit, maybe some hot chocolate if you'd like it. I stay with my brother, Lucia says quickly, her hand reaching for Elias. Then he comes too. Carmela straightens, gesturing to the door. All of you. This parlor is lovely, but the kitchen is warmer. The kitchen is nothing like Elias expected. Yes, it's large, with professional-grade appliances, and more counter space than most apartments have in total square footage, but it's also lived in. There are herbs growing in pots on the windowsill, a well-worn cutting board on the counter, and the smell of fresh coffee and baking bread that makes his empty stomach clench with want. Carmela settles Lucia at a large wooden table that dominates the center of the room and produces hot chocolate in a heavy ceramic mug, the kind meant to be cradled in small hands. Then come the pastries, still warm, flaking with sugar, and filled with sweet ricotta. Lucia stares at them like they might vanish if she looks away. Eat, Cara, Carmela encourages. There's plenty more. Lucia takes one carefully, bites into it with the hesitance of someone expecting it to be taken away. When it isn't, when Carmela just smiles and pushes the plate closer, she eats faster. Elias watches this from his position near the door, still holding the now cold espresso. Carmela catches his eye and pours him a fresh cup from the pot on the counter, adding it to the table near where Lucia sits. She needs more than one meal, Carmela says quietly to him. Both of you do. You're both too thin. We've been managing, Elias says, defensive. I'm sure you have. Carmela's voice holds no judgment. But you don't have to anymore, not today at least. While Lucia eats, Carmela moves around the kitchen with practiced ease, gathering supplies. Art supplies, Elias realizes. Colored pencils, markers, paper. She sets them beside Lucia's plate, and the little girl stares at them like she's forgotten such things exist. Do you like to draw? Carmela asks. Lucia nods slowly. Good. Then after breakfast, you can draw me something. Anything you like. I have a whole wall in my sitting room where I display art from children who visit. It's been empty for too long. Lucia picks up a green marker, rolls it between her small fingers, tests its weight. Anything? Anything at all. For the first time since they arrived, something that might be hope flickers across Lucia's face. She selects a fresh sheet of paper and begins to draw, slow at first, then with increasing confidence. Carmela sits across from her, sipping her own coffee, offering gentle comments and questions about the emerging picture. Elias watches his sister's shoulders slowly, gradually, begin to relax. He watches color come back into her cheeks as she eats and drinks and draws. He watches Carmela's patient, steady kindness work on her like medicine. And he realizes, with a feeling that's half relief and half terror, that leaving at sunrise was never really an option. Carmela lets Lucia finish her drawing before standing and offering her hand. Come, Piccola. Let's find you some fresh clothes. I have things that will fit you much better than what you're wearing. Lucia looks to Elias again, that automatic check for permission that breaks something in his chest every time he sees it. He nods, and she takes Carmela's hand with only slight hesitation. We'll just be upstairs, Carmela says to Elias. 10 minutes, maybe 15. There's more coffee in the pot if you want it. Then they're gone, Carmela's gentle voice echoing down the hallway as she talks to Lucia about colors and comfortable fabrics. Elias is alone in the kitchen for the first time since they arrived. The sudden absence of his sister, even knowing she's safe, even knowing exactly where she is, makes his skin crawl with anxiety. He can't stay still. He paces the kitchen once, twice, then moves into the hallway because sitting feels impossible and standing in one place feels worse. The hallway is wide and tall, lined with more paintings, and the kind of architectural details that speak of old money and older power. His footsteps are too loud on the polished stone. He feels like an intruder, like someone who's going to be caught any second and thrown back out into the cold. Elias. The voice makes him turn. Cosimo stands at the far end of the hallway, appearing as silently as he seems to do everything. In daylight, he looks different than he did last night. Less like the efficient servant Elias had assumed, and more like something else entirely. He's maybe 40, lean and fit in a way that suggests discipline rather than vanity. He wears simple dark trousers and a gray sweater. Nothing flashy. Nothing that draws attention. His face is angular, intelligent, and his eyes are the kind that miss nothing. But it's his hands that Elias notices most. They're clean, precise, with short nails and old scars across the knuckles. Not the scars of someone who throws punches. The scars of someone who's worked with sharp instruments, with delicate tools, with things that require steadiness and care. Walk with me, Cosimo says. It's not quite a request, but not quite an order either. They walk, Cosimo setting an easy pace that somehow still feels purposeful. He doesn't speak immediately, just guides them through the palazzo's interior until they reach a sunlit corridor lined with windows overlooking the garden. Morning light streams through, warm and clean. I notice things, Cosimo says finally. His voice is calm, almost clinical. It's part of my job. Last night, when you came in with your sister, I noticed the way she moves, careful, guarded, the way she flinches when someone shifts their weight too quickly. He pauses, glancing at Elias. The way you position yourself between her and every doorway, every person, every potential threat. Elias's jaw tightens. So what? So those are specific behaviors. They come from specific experiences. Cosimo stops walking and turns to face him fully. I used to be a medic. Combat zones, civilian hospitals, places where people came in broken, and I had to figure out what broke them so I could fix it. I got good at reading trauma. We're fine, Elias says automatically. You're not fine. Neither is she. Cosimo's tone doesn't change, stays factual and steady. And I need to know what we're dealing with. Who was the man? The one you mentioned last night. Victor. The name hits like a physical blow. Elias's hands curl into fists, his nails digging into his palms hard enough to hurt. Tell me, Cosimo says quietly. Start from the beginning. And maybe it's the calm professionalism in Cosimo's voice, or maybe it's the exhaustion, or maybe it's just that Elias has been carrying this alone for so long that having someone ask, really ask, breaks something open inside him. The words come out flat and mechanical, drained of emotion because that's the only way he can say them. Victor was our mother's boyfriend. Not even boyfriend, really. Just someone she brought around when she needed money or a place to crash. He was there on and off for about 8 months. Elias stares at the garden through the windows, not seeing it. At first it was just normal bad. Yelling, throwing things, Mom would disappear for days and leave us with him. Then it got worse. Worse how? Cosimo's voice is gentle but insistent. He started hitting Lucia when she made noise. When she cried, when she asked questions, when she existed too loudly. Elias's voice cracks slightly, but he forces it steady. Then he started doing other things, grabbing her too hard, cornering her, making her sit on his lap while he watched TV. She told me and I tried to keep her away from him, but Mom didn't care. She said we were being dramatic, that Victor was fine, we just needed to behave better. Cosimo's expression doesn't change, but something hardens in his eyes. Go on. 3 weeks ago, Mom left. Just packed a bag and walked out. Said she was done playing house. Victor stayed. He said he paid rent, so the apartment was his now. That we could stay if we made ourselves useful. Elias's hands are shaking now. 2 weeks ago, I came home from trying to find work, and Lucia was locked in the bathroom. She wouldn't come out for 4 hours. She had marks on her arms, fingerprints. Did he... Cosimo doesn't finish the question, but Elias understands what he's asking. No, not that. Not yet. But he was building up to it. I could see it. The way he looked at her. The way he talked about her when he drank. So I got her out. We've been running ever since. Sleeping in parks, bus stations, anywhere that felt safer than that apartment. But he's looking for us. He has friends, people who owe him. Last night someone spotted us near the waterfront, and I knew we were out of time. The silence that follows is heavy. Cosimo processes this with the same clinical calm he's maintained throughout, but when he speaks, his voice has an edge to it that wasn't there before. This Victor, full name? Victor Reeves. Address? Elias rattles it off. The numbers and street name that used to mean home, and now just mean danger. Cosimo pulls out his phone and types rapidly. We will know everything about him before lunch. Where he works, where he drinks, who he knows, what leverage we can use. By dinner, we'll know things about him that he doesn't remember himself. Why? The question comes out broken. Why do you care? Cosimo looks at him, really looks at him, and for the first time there's something other than professional assessment in his expression, something almost kind. Because you asked for help, and because some things are unforgivable. Cosimo's phone rings before Elias can respond. He answers with a single word, listens for 30 seconds, then ends the call with the same efficiency. Valente wants you in the main parlor, now. They walk back through the palazzo, Cosimo leading the way with that same purposeful stride. Elias's heart is hammering against his ribs. He doesn't know what's coming, but every instinct he's developed over the last few weeks is screaming that meetings with powerful men rarely end well for people like him. The main parlor is different from the East Room where they spent the night. Larger, more formal, with tall windows that overlook the front courtyard. Valente stands near one of them, his back to the door, phone pressed to his ear. He's speaking rapid Italian, his tone clipped and authoritative. When he hears them enter, he finishes the conversation with 2 more sentences and turns. Sit, he says to Elias, gesturing to one of the chairs arranged around a low table. Elias sits. His hands grip the armrests because they need something to hold on to. Valente studies him for a long moment, and Elias has the distinct impression of being assessed, measured, catalogued. Finally, Valente speaks. Cosimo tells me you've been honest about your situation. That's good. Honesty makes things simpler. He crosses to the chair opposite Elias and sits with the same controlled grace he does everything. But honesty only helps if we act on it correctly. You came here asking for one night. That's not going to be enough. I know, Elias says quietly, but I don't have money for anything more. I don't have anything at all. Money isn't the issue. The issue is doing this properly, legally. Valente leans back slightly. I've called my consigliere. She'll be here within the hour. She's going to outline options for getting you and your sister permanent protection through the courts. Courts don't care about kids like us, Elias says flatly. It's not bitterness, just fact. We'll get put in the system. They'll separate us. Lucia will end up in a home with 6 other kids and people who don't have time to notice when she has nightmares. Not if we do this correctly. Valente's voice is absolute. You came to the right door, Elias. That means you're under my protection now. And when I protect something, I do it thoroughly. The door opens and a woman enters with the kind of presence that makes the room feel smaller. She's probably mid-40s, dressed in a tailored navy suit with sharp lines and perfect fit. Her dark hair is pulled back severely, emphasizing high cheekbones and dark eyes that sweep the room with laser precision. She carries a leather briefcase that looks expensive and functional in equal measure. Alessandra, Valente says by way of introduction, my consigliere and the best family law attorney in the state. Alessandra's handshake is firm and brief. She sits, opens her briefcase, and extracts a leather portfolio and pen, with movements so economical they feel choreographed. Tell me everything. Start with your full legal names and dates of birth. For the next 20 minutes, Elias answers questions. Some are simple. His name, Lucia's name, their ages, their mother's full name. Others are harder. When their mother left, what documentation they have. Whether there are any other relatives. Alessandra takes notes in precise shorthand, her face revealing nothing. The mother, she says finally. Any idea where she is now? No, she didn't say. She just left. Better for us. Parental abandonment is easier to prove than unfitness. Alessandra flips to a new page. Victor Reeves. You said he has no legal relationship to either of you? He's nobody, just someone who was there. Good. That simplifies the custody argument. She looks at Valente. I'll file emergency petitions this afternoon. Temporary custody to a guardian of the court's choosing, with the ultimate goal of permanent placement. Given the circumstances, specifically the documented abandonment and the credible threat from Reeves, I can have an emergency hearing scheduled within 72 hours. Who would be the guardian? Elias asks. His voice sounds small in the formal room. Alessandra's expression softens slightly, just at the edges. Someone connected to this family, but not directly involved in business operations. Someone with a clean record, stable home, and the resources to provide proper care. She glances at Valente. Carmela? Already spoken to her, Valente confirms. She's willing. Elias's mind is reeling. You want your sister to take custody of us? Why would she do that? She doesn't even know us. Because I asked her to, Valente says simply, and because she's always wanted children but never had any of her own. You'll be doing her a favor as much as she's doing you one. The door opens again, harder this time. Silvio enters flanked by 2 other men, both built like walls and wearing the same hard expression their boss carries. Silvio's face is darker than usual, his jaw tight with controlled anger. Well? Valente asks. Victor Reeves, 38. 2 prior arrests for assault, 1 conviction, served 18 months. Currently unemployed, living off disability payments he shouldn't be getting and money from under-the-table work. Silvio's voice is clipped, professional, but fury runs underneath like a live wire. He's been asking around about the kids, told 3 different people they're his responsibility and he's going to find them. He was spotted at the bus station this morning showing their picture to homeless kids. The room goes cold. Elias feels his stomach drop through the floor. He's close, Silvio continues. Not here yet, but close. He's methodical, checking shelters, talking to street kids, putting together a map of where they've been seen. Distance? Valente's tone hasn't changed, but something in his posture has shifted, coiled tighter. Half a mile, maybe less. Someone told him they saw a kid matching Elias's description heading toward the waterfront district. He'll figure out the palazzo eventually if we give him time. Valente stands. He crosses to Elias and puts one heavy hand on his shoulder. The weight of it is solid, grounding. Absolute. You did well, he says. You got your sister somewhere safe. You made the hard choice. Now the family takes the lead. He looks at Silvio. I want eyes on Reeves. I want to know everywhere he goes, everyone he talks to, every breath he takes. And I want legal options from Alessandra for restraining orders filed before end of business today. Consider it done, Alessandra says, already typing on her phone. Elias sits frozen, overwhelmed by the sudden mobilization of power around him. These people, this family, they're moving like a machine, precise and unstoppable. And for the first time since his mother walked out, he feels something that might be hope. The feeling doesn't last long. Hope requires trust. And trust requires letting go of control. And Elias has spent too many months being the only thing standing between Lucia and danger to simply hand that responsibility over to strangers. Even powerful, organized, apparently well-meaning strangers. Within an hour of the meeting ending, the anxiety starts creeping back in. Lucia is with Carmela somewhere in the house, drawing or talking or doing whatever it is Carmela does to make frightened children relax. Elias knows she's safe. He knows Silvio's men are watching the perimeter. He knows Victor can't get through the walls and the security and the sheer weight of Valente's power. But knowing doesn't stop the crawling sensation under his skin, the need to move, to check, to confirm. He paces the hallway outside the main parlor until Cosimo finds him wearing a path in the expensive runner. You're going to burn through the floor, Cosimo observes mildly. I need to see her. She's fine. Carmela's with her in the garden. I need to see her, Elias repeats, more insistent. Cosimo studies him with that same clinical assessment he seems to apply to everything. You need to be useful. Standing here spinning in circles isn't helping her or you. I don't know how to help anymore, Elias admits. The words come out raw. All I've done for months is run and hide and try to keep us fed. Now you're all doing everything, and I'm just standing here being useless. Then stop being useless. Cosimo gestures down the hallway. Come with me. They descend. Not just down one floor, but down two, through increasingly secure doors that require codes and keycards Cosimo produces without comment. The air grows cooler, the sounds of the house above fading to silence. When they finally stop, they're in a subterranean office that looks more like a bank vault than a workspace. The room is windowless but well lit, with industrial-grade shelving lining 3 walls and a large work table dominating the center. Filing cabinets stand in precise rows, each labeled with codes that mean nothing to Elias. Everything is organized with military precision, clean and functional, and utterly secure. This is the vault, Cosimo says. Records, ledgers, documentation. The boring machinery that keeps an organization running. He crosses to one of the shelves and pulls down several thick binders. These need to be reorganized, cross-referenced by date, transaction type, and account code. It's methodical work, detail-oriented, the kind of thing that requires focus. Elias stares at the binders. You want me to do bookkeeping? I want you to do something productive that will keep your mind from eating itself. Cosimo sets the binders on the work table along with a reference sheet explaining the coding system. You strike me as someone who's good with numbers. Am I wrong? He's not wrong. Before everything fell apart, Elias was good at math. Better than good. It was the one subject where things made sense, where problems had clear solutions and effort produced results. What if I mess it up? He asks. Then you mess it up and I fix it. But I don't think you will. Cosimo heads for the door. There's water in the mini fridge, pens in the drawer. Work until you're tired, then come find me. The door closes with a heavy, final sound. Elias is alone with columns of numbers and the quiet hum of climate control. He opens the first binder. The work is exactly what Cosimo promised. Methodical, detailed. Each entry needs to be verified against the master list, categorized, and noted in the appropriate column. It requires concentration, focus, attention to patterns and discrepancies. Within 15 minutes, Elias is absorbed. Within 30, the anxiety has quieted to a low background hum. The numbers don't lie. They don't have hidden motives or sudden violence. They just are, waiting to be organized into coherence. There's something deeply satisfying about taking chaos and imposing order on it, about seeing a messy ledger become clean and clear through sheer methodical effort. He loses track of time down there in the cool silence of the vault. Page after page, entry after entry, the work fills the space in his head where fear usually lives. Above him, in the garden, Lucia sits on a stone bench with Carmela. The older woman has brought out more art supplies, but for now, they're just sitting in the sunshine, watching birds move through the carefully tended flower beds. "It's pretty here," Lucia says quietly. It's the longest sentence she's volunteered since they arrived. "It is," Carmela agrees. "My brother built these walls a long time ago, very high, very strong. Do you know why?" Lucia shakes her head. "To keep bad things out, and good things in." Carmela adjusts the shawl around her shoulders. "There are different kinds of wolves in the world, Piccola. Some wolves hunt sheep, some wolves hunt other wolves. The trick is knowing which kind you need when the bad wolves come prowling." Lucia considers this, her small face serious. "Elias always protected me. He's like a good wolf." "He is," Carmela says gently. "And he did a brave thing bringing you here. But even the bravest wolves need a pack sometimes. They need other wolves to help guard the den, to watch their backs, to take turns being strong." "Is Mr. Valente a wolf?" Carmela smiles. "Dimitrio is the biggest wolf in the forest, and now you're part of his pack. That means the other wolves have to go through him to get to you, and nobody goes through my brother." Lucia picks up a green marker and starts drawing. Not the chaotic scribbles of yesterday, but something more deliberate. A house, tall walls, flowers, and in the center, a small figure holding hands with a larger one. "That's you and Elias," Carmela observes. "We're safe now," Lucia says. It's half statement, half question. Carmela puts her arm around the little girl's shoulders and pulls her close. "You're safe now." In the vault below, Elias closes the third binder and reaches for the fourth. His shoulders ache from hunching over the table, but his mind is clearer than it's been in weeks. The work has given him something he didn't know he needed, a way to be useful without having to be a shield. He glances at his watch. 2:37 p.m. He's been down here for almost 3 hours. And for 3 hours, he hasn't thought once about running. And for 3 hours, he hasn't thought once about running. Cosimo retrieves him at 5 p.m., appearing in the vault doorway with the same quiet efficiency that seems to define everything he does. "Alessandra wants to see you. She's made progress." Elias follows him back up through the secured doors, his mind still half-focused on ledger entries and account codes. The transition from the vault's cool silence to the palazzo's main floor is jarring, like surfacing from deep water. Alessandra has taken over Valente's private study, spreading documents across the wide desk in organized piles. Her phone is pressed to her ear when they enter, and her voice cuts through the room with surgical precision. "I don't care about your schedule, Judge. We have documented parental abandonment, credible threats from an unrelated adult male with a violent history, and 2 minors who need immediate protection. You'll see us tomorrow at 9 a.m., or I'll be filing complaints with the State Bar about delayed justice." She listens for 3 seconds. "Excellent. We'll be there." She ends the call and looks at Elias. "Sit." He sits. "I've secured an emergency review hearing for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. The judge is someone who takes child welfare seriously and doesn't appreciate predators." Alessandra's pen taps against her notepad in a steady rhythm. "You'll be required to testify, briefly. The goal is to establish the facts, Your mother abandoned you, Victor Reeves poses a credible threat, and you need immediate protection. What do I have to say? Elias's mouth is dry. The truth. Nothing more, nothing less. Alessandra leans forward slightly. The judge will ask you basic questions. When did your mother leave? What was your relationship with Victor Reeves? Why did you feel you needed to leave? Answer directly and honestly. Don't embellish, don't minimize. Just state what happened. What if I say something wrong? There is no wrong if you're telling the truth. Her expression softens fractionally. Elias, Victor's history is already working in our favor. 2 arrests, 1 conviction, multiple witnesses who can confirm his violent tendencies. The man is a documented threat. Your job is simply to confirm that yes, he targeted your sister, and yes, you had reason to fear for her safety. Can you do that? He nods, not trusting his voice. Good. I'll do the heavy lifting. The legal arguments, the procedural motions, the presentation of evidence. You just need to be unwavering when it matters. She shuffles through her papers and extracts a single sheet. I've also filed for an emergency restraining order against Victor Reeves. If granted, and it will be granted, he'll be legally prohibited from coming within 500 feet of either of you. Violation means immediate arrest. He doesn't care about laws, Elias says quietly. No, but he cares about jail, and men like him, men with records and outstanding warrants we're currently uncovering, they care about staying off law enforcement's radar. Alessandra's smile is sharp and cold. We're making it very expensive for him to continue hunting you. The door opens and Carmela enters with Lucia close beside her. The little girl looks different than she did this morning. Her hair has been washed and properly brushed, falling in clean waves past her shoulders. She wears fresh clothes, simple but well-made, and her face has lost some of the hollow, hunted look that's been etched there for weeks. We have something for you, Piccola, Carmela says gently. She produces a small velvet box from her pocket and opens it. Inside is a silver locket, small and delicate, suspended on a fine chain. The surface is engraved with an intricate design, something that looks like a family crest, old and meaningful. This belonged to my grandmother, Carmela explains, kneeling to Lucia's eye level. She gave it to me when I was about your age. She told me it was for protection. Not magic, but a reminder that I belong to a family that would never let harm come to me. Lucia stares at the locket with wide eyes. It's too nice. I'll break it. You won't break it. It's survived 3 generations of stubborn Italian women. You'll be fine. Carmela lifts the locket from the box and fastens it around Lucia's neck. The silver gleams against her skin. There. Now you're part of something bigger than just you and your brother. You're under our protection. Officially. Lucia touches the locket with careful fingers, feeling its weight, its solidity. Thank you, she whispers. Elias watches this exchange with a tightness in his chest that might be gratitude or might be grief. He doesn't know anymore. The lines between relief and loss have blurred so completely, he can't tell them apart. The rest of the afternoon passes in preparation. Alessandra reviews potential questions with Elias, drilling him on clear, concise answers. Carmela keeps Lucia occupied with drawing and stories. Cosimo appears periodically with food, coffee, quiet updates about security. By 8 p.m., Elias is exhausted in a way that has nothing to do with physical tiredness. His mind feels scraped raw from legal terminology and worst-case scenarios, and the constant grinding awareness that tomorrow will determine everything. He finds Lucia already in bed in the room Carmela has prepared for her. It's small by Palazzo standards, but larger than any room they've ever had, with a proper bed and soft blankets and windows that overlook the garden. The locket rests on her chest, rising and falling with her breathing. Elias? Her voice is small in the darkness. I'm here. Are we staying? The question is too big for a simple answer. I don't know yet. Maybe, if things go right tomorrow. I want to stay. She says it with such simple certainty it breaks something in him. Carmela is nice, and I like the garden, and I feel safe here. I know, Lucia, I know. He sits with her until she falls asleep, watching the steady rise and fall of the locket on her chest, then slips out into the hallway. Valente is there, standing near one of the tall windows that overlook the front courtyard. He's checking something on his phone, but he looks up when Elias approaches. Can't sleep? Valente asks. Can't stop thinking, Elias admits. Valente pockets his phone and gestures for Elias to join him at the window. Outside, the perimeter is lit by subtle security lights. Shadows move at regular intervals, Silvio's men making their rounds. I do this every night, Valente says. Check the locks, review the security reports, confirm the perimeter. Old habit. Why? Elias asks. You have people for that. Because some responsibilities can't be delegated. Valente's reflection in the glass is calm, absolute. When you take someone under your protection, you become their guarantor. Their safety becomes your personal obligation. It's not about trust or efficiency, it's about accountability. Elias looks at him properly for the first time. Not as a threat or a last resort, but as what he actually is, a man who built walls to protect what's his and who honors that protection with his presence. You're not doing this because you're kind, Elias says slowly, working through it. You're doing it because of the code. The code is kind, Valente corrects. In its own way. It demands shelter for those who ask, protection for the vulnerable, consequences for those who prey on the weak. He turns from the window to face Elias directly. You came to my door. That makes you mine now, and what's mine stays protected. The words follow Elias into restless sleep and wake with him at 6:30 a.m., when gray dawn light filters through the curtains of the guest room Cosimo prepared for him. He lies still for several minutes, staring at the ceiling. Before the anxiety drives him upright and into the hallway to check on Lucia. She's still asleep, the silver locket catching early light, her face peaceful in a way he hasn't seen in months. He watches her breathe for a full minute before forcing himself to leave, to let her rest while she still can. The hearing isn't until 9 o'clock a.m., but by 7:30, everyone is moving with the tense efficiency of soldiers preparing for battle. Alessandra arrives at 7:45 in a steel gray suit that looks like it costs more than a car, her briefcase heavy with documentation. Valente appears in a dark three-piece suit, his presence filling whatever room he enters. Even Carmela has dressed more formally, her usual comfortable linen replaced with a tailored dress in deep blue. They don't go to the courthouse. The hearing, Alessandra explains as she reviews her notes over espresso, will be conducted at the Palazzo. A courtesy extended to accommodate the security concerns and the children's emotional state. The judge has agreed to bring Viviana Delgado, the juvenile services officer, who will conduct the formal assessment, directly to them. Viviana is fair but strict, Alessandra says, directing this primarily at Elias. She's seen every con, every manipulation, every well-meaning disaster. She won't be impressed by money or power. She'll assess the situation based purely on what's best for the children. That's good, Elias says, though his stomach is churning. That's what we want. It is, but it means she'll be skeptical of this arrangement. A mafia don offering sanctuary looks suspicious on paper. Your job is to be honest. Carmela's job is to be herself. The house's job is to demonstrate absolute safety. Viviana Delgado arrives at 8:45 a.m. in an unmarked sedan, accompanied by the judge's clerk, but not the judge himself. She's a woman in her early 50s, black, with natural hair pulled back in a simple style and wearing practical business clothes that prioritize function over fashion. She carries a worn leather messenger bag and a tablet, and her eyes take in everything as Cosimo escorts her through the front entrance. Elias watches her face as she enters the main parlor where they've gathered. He sees her register the luxury, the paintings, the furniture, the sheer weight of old money that permeates every surface. He sees her note Silvio standing near the door, his presence impossible to miss. He sees her catalog Valente himself, sitting with the calm authority of someone who owns everything he surveys. And he sees the moment her expression shifts from neutral assessment to active wariness. "Mrs. Delgado," Alessandra says, standing to greet her. "Thank you for coming. I'm Alessandra Ricci, representing the family in this matter." "Ms. Delgado," the woman corrects mildly. She shakes Alessandra's hand with professional courtesy, but her guard stays firmly up. "I'm here to assess the living situation and make a recommendation to the court regarding temporary placement." "Of course. This is Carmela Valente, the proposed guardian." Alessandra gestures to Carmela, who steps forward with genuine warmth. "It's good to meet you," Carmela says. "Please sit. Can I get you coffee? Water?" "Water would be fine." Viviana sits in the chair indicated, but her posture stays formal, alert. "And I'll need to speak with the children, separately and privately." "Understood," Alessandra says smoothly. "Lucia is in the garden with her brother. I'll have them brought in." Elias's heart is hammering when Cosimo collects them from where they've been waiting. Lucia holds his hand tightly, the locket visible at her throat. They enter the parlor together, and Viviana's sharp eyes immediately go to them, assessing, cataloging, reading everything that shows on their faces and in their body language. "Hello," Viviana says, her voice gentler than it was with the adults. "I'm Ms. Delgado. I work for Juvenile Services. My job is to make sure you're both safe and cared for properly. Can you tell me your names?" "Elias," he manages. "This is Lucia." "My sister. It's nice to meet you both." Viviana's smile is professional but not unkind. She looks at Lucia specifically. "Lucia, I'd like to talk with you privately for a few minutes. Just the two of us. Is that all right?" Lucia's hand tightens on Elias's. "Will Elias be here?" "He'll be right outside, I promise. I just need to ask you some questions without anyone else listening." Viviana's tone is reassuring but firm. "It won't take long." Elias crouches down to Lucia's level. "It's okay. She needs to talk to you to make sure we can stay. Tell her the truth, all right? I'll be right outside the door." Lucia nods reluctantly. She lets go of his hand and crosses to where Viviana waits. They move to a smaller adjoining room, and the door closes with a soft click that sounds impossibly final. The wait is excruciating. Elias paces the hallway outside while Carmela sits calmly in a chair, her hands folded in her lap. Alessandra reviews documents on her tablet. Valente stands near a window, apparently relaxed, but Elias has learned to read the tension in his shoulders. 20 minutes pass like 20 hours. When the door finally opens, Lucia emerges first. Her eyes are red, but she's not crying, and she goes directly to Elias and wraps her arms around his waist. He holds her, feeling her heart beat against his ribs. Viviana follows, holding something in her hands. It's one of Lucia's drawings from yesterday, the one with the house and walls and the two figures holding hands. But there's more to it than Elias saw before. In the background, there's a larger figure, protective and solid, standing between the house and what looks like shadows in the distance. Viviana looks at the drawing for a long moment, then at Carmela, then at Valente standing silent and imposing near the window. Finally, her eyes settle on Elias. "I need to speak with you now," she says. "Privately." The interview is shorter than Lucia's. Viviana asks direct questions, and Elias gives direct answers. "When did your mother leave?" 3 weeks ago. "Why did you come here?" "Victor was getting worse and I ran out of options. Do you feel safe here?" "Yes." "Does Lucia?" "Yes." "Why here specifically?" Viviana asks. "Why this house?" "Because everyone knows who Mr. Valente is. I thought if Victor knew we were here behind these walls, he might back off." Elias's voice is steady despite the fear thrumming through him. "I thought maybe the only thing scarier than Victor was someone more powerful than him. Viviana writes something on her tablet. And has it worked? I don't know yet, but Lucia slept through the night for the first time in weeks. She drew pictures. She smiled. That has to count for something. Viviana studies him for a long moment. Then she stands, gathering her materials. I need to confer with the judge. Wait here. She disappears into another room with her phone. 15 minutes of agonizing silence follow. Then she returns, her expression unreadable. She looks at Elias first, then at Carmela, then speaks to everyone in the room at once. I am recommending temporary emergency placement with Carmela Valente, effective immediately and pending full review within 30 days. The safety protocols here are exceptional. The child's emotional state shows marked improvement, and frankly, given Victor Reeves's history and current behavior, this is the most secure environment available. Her expression softens slightly. You did the right thing, Elias, bringing her here, asking for help. That took courage. The words hang in the air long after Viviana leaves, after the paperwork is signed, after Alessandra confirms that everything is legal and binding and real. Elias stands in the main parlor feeling untethered, like gravity just shifted, and he hasn't figured out how to balance yet. They're staying. Officially, legally. Lucia is under Carmela's guardianship, and he's included in that arrangement because separating siblings isn't in anyone's best interest. The restraining order against Victor is active. Silvio's men are still watching the perimeter. And somehow, impossibly, this palazzo with its walls and its power and its dangerous protector has become their home. Carmela finds him an hour later, still standing in the same spot, processing. Come, she says gently. Tonight we celebrate. Nothing big, just family dinner. I don't know if I can eat, Elias admits. You'll eat, Carmela says with the absolute certainty of someone who's spent decades feeding people. You'll sit, you'll eat, and you'll let yourself be cared for. That's the deal now. Dinner is set in the smaller dining room, the one Carmela uses when she's not entertaining. The table is solid wood, worn smooth by generations of use, and seats 8 comfortably. Tonight there are only 5. Carmela, Valente, Elias, Lucia, and Cosimo, who apparently counts as family for occasions like this. The food is simple but perfect. Fresh pasta with a sauce that tastes like tomatoes and basil and summer. Bread still warm from the oven. A salad with greens so fresh they must have been growing in the garden an hour ago. Wine for the adults, sparkling water for the children, served in actual crystal that catches the candlelight. Lucia sits between Elias and Carmela, her small hands careful with the silverware. She's trying to use proper manners, to be worthy of the nice dishes and the formal setting, but Carmela waves away her careful precision. Eat how you want, Piccola. This is family dinner, not a state function. So Lucia eats, actually eats, with the unself-conscious hunger of a child who finally feels safe enough to relax. She tries everything, asks questions about the food, listens to Carmela's stories about learning to cook from her grandmother. And then, about halfway through the meal, Cosimo tells a story about Valente as a boy, something involving a fishing boat and a very angry fisherman, and a chase through the waterfront that ended with young Demetrio hiding in a restaurant's storage closet for 3 hours. The way he tells it, dry and understated, makes it funnier than it has any right to be. Lucia laughs. It's not a small sound, not a polite chuckle. It's a real laugh, bright and genuine, the kind that comes from deep in the chest. The sound fills the room, bounces off the walls, and hits Elias like a physical blow. He can't remember the last time he heard her laugh. Months ago, maybe longer. Before Victor, before their mother left, before everything fell apart. He has to set down his fork because his hands are shaking. Carmela catches his eye across the table and smiles, understanding written in every line of her face. Valente says nothing, but there's something that might be satisfaction in his expression, the quiet knowledge that his walls are doing what walls are supposed to do. After dinner, Lucia helps Carmela clear the table despite Cosimo's protests that he'll handle it. They disappear into the kitchen together, Lucia's voice asking questions about where things go, Carmela's answering with patient detail. Elias wanders, restless despite the food and the warmth and the safety. He ends up in the front room, the formal receiving area with the tall windows that overlook the courtyard. Outside, the security lights cast long shadows. The walls are high and solid, the gates are locked, and somewhere in the darkness, Silvio's men are making their rounds. Your watch is over. Elias turns. Valente has followed him, moving with that same quiet authority he brings to everything. He stands beside one of the windows, his reflection ghostly in the reinforced glass. The threat is neutralized, Valente continues. Victor Reeves is being watched. If he comes within 500 feet of this property or attempts contact, he's arrested on sight. The legal protection is absolute. You can stop watching the doors now. I don't know how, Elias says quietly. The admission costs him something to make. I've been watching for so long, listening for footsteps, checking locks, planning escape routes. I don't know how to just stop. You'll learn. Valente's voice is matter of fact, not dismissive but not indulgent either. It takes time to trust walls when you've spent months without them. But you're under the code now. That means something. It means you focus on being 15. You go to school. You do homework. You have the luxury of being bored and restless and normal. And Lucia? Lucia focuses on being a child, on drawing and playing and forgetting what she's seen. Valente turns from the window to face him directly. That's the deal. You gave me responsibility for her safety. Now I'm giving you permission to stop carrying all of it alone. The weight of those words settles over Elias like a blanket. Permission. He didn't know he needed it. Didn't know he was waiting for someone to tell him it was okay to set down the burden he's been carrying. They return to the sitting room where Carmela has settled with Lucia. The little girl is curled on a lounge chair near the window, the one that overlooks the garden. She's still wearing the silver locket, her fingers playing with it absently. Her eyes are heavy, drooping despite her best efforts to stay awake. Tell us about school, Carmela is saying softly. What subjects do you like? I like reading, Lucia murmurs. And art. I'm not good at math. We'll work on that, Carmela promises. There's a good school 3 blocks from here. Small classes, good teachers. You'll start next week once the paperwork clears. Lucia's eyes drift closed. Will Elias be there too? Different building. But yes, you'll see him every day. Good. The word is barely a whisper. Lucia's hand closes around the locket, holding it like a talisman, and her breathing evens out into sleep. Carmela drapes a soft throw over her and stands carefully, not wanting to disturb her. She's exhausted. The stress, the fear, it all catches up eventually. Elias watches his sister sleep. Really sleep, without nightmares or startling awake, without the tension that's been carved into her small body for weeks. The locket rises and falls with her breathing, catching the lamplight. For months he's been the wall between her and everything terrible. For months he's carried the weight of keeping her alive, fed, safe. And now, standing in this room with its reinforced windows and its layers of protection and its powerful, dangerous guardian, he feels something loosen in his chest. He sinks into the chair beside Lucia's lounge, not on the floor, not positioned for quick escape, just sitting like a normal person in a normal house. His body protests the relaxation, every instinct screaming that he needs to stay alert, but he forces himself to stay seated. To breathe. To trust the walls and the locks and the men who patrol the darkness outside. The overwhelming cold power of the Valente house has become their sanctuary. Their improbable, impossible, permanent home. And for the first time in longer than he can remember, Elias allows himself to believe they might actually be safe. Thank you for staying with me until the very end of this incredible journey. If this story touched your heart, Wait until you see what's coming next. It's even more powerful and inspiring than you can imagine. So don't go anywhere. Click on that video showing on your screen right now to dive into another amazing story that will absolutely blow your mind. Trust me, you won't regret it.